Hi, this is Tom Devoto, and I'd like to talk to you about another Supreme Court case since we've been discussing that most recently. And this is a case involving the Supreme Court's enforcement of an arbitration clause in a cell phone contract. In the case that was filed against AT&T as a class action for wrongfully, illegally, fraudulently, negligently collecting taxes on free cell phones, the Supreme Court said that the arbitration clause in the cell phone contract was in compliance with the Federal Arbitration Act, and as such, each individual who was cheated out of his $30 or $40 would be required to file their own single arbitration with the arbitration entity or panel or group named in the contract. I haven't seen one of those contracts. I don't know who the arbitration group is, but I have been involved in arbitrations, some of them quite large, and I am willing to bet that the filing fees for the individual arbitrations are probably more than the $30 or $40 that AT&T wrongfully collected. I cannot believe, once again, that the Supreme Court would take away an individual's rights to try and make some effort to get their money back from a company that is so large that it could simply thumb its nose at them and say, file your arbitration, and if you're right, we'll pay you. If you're not, too bad. The only way big companies who wrongfully collect fees, who wrongfully misrepresent their products to individuals, and who then have small claims can ever get their money is to file a class action lawsuit. If a manufacturer refuses to pay $50 to someone, that's a $50 claim, and the filing fee is probably more than $50. But if 1 million people have a $50 claim, it becomes a $50 million lawsuit, and that's when, and that's why the manufacturers will finally fess up and they'll do the quote unquote the right thing. This is another example of federal law preempting state law, and the federal law in question is the Federal Arbitration Act. It was passed in an effort to try and speed up the amount of cases that were being filed, and it's a good idea gone bad. To have every single person sign an arbitration clause for every contract that they sign defeats the purpose of the statute, and it destroys the effect of the Seventh Amendment, which gives you a constitutional right to a trial by jury. Your credit card contract, your bank loans, your mortgage, your line of credit, almost every single contract you sign these days now has an arbitration clause in it. And no matter how badly you are wronged by the person who drafted these onerous contracts, you can't do anything but bring an arbitration against them. And as a secondary problem with arbitrations, the panel is ordinarily made up of industry people or of people who make their living as arbitrators. If word gets out that they rule against the drafters of these contracts, they will probably never get another job again. Therefore, the system is doubly stacked against the individual, and Congress simply has to do something about this. Our courts, for some reason, show no interest in doing anything other than going down the absolute letter of the law, and that is, if a contract has an arbitration clause in it, then that arbitration clause is binding. There are some exceptions to that. However, they're becoming harder and harder to bring to court and to prevail. And as I said, until we do something to go to court or go to Congress and ask Congress to take a look at the Seventh Amendment and ask Congress why they think the Seventh Amendment doesn't apply to us, that somehow or another we're not entitled to a trial by jury because we happen to contract with a big company, then I don't know what's going to happen. The arbitration system simply is stacked in favor of the defendant, and that's why the founders of this country and the drafters of our Constitution put in the Seventh Amendment. They know that a trial by jury is your best chance at justice, because those 12 jurors are never going to come back and have another case just like the one they heard. And the next jury will be a different jury of different people and can reach a separate and different conclusion. That's why the system works. There's no pressure to do anything other than the right thing. Thank you for listening to me. And if you want some additional information on other areas of law, please look at my website. I have written material on areas of the law and other videos that may be of interest. Thank you once again.